Don't be expecting a video once in a while. You'll be seeing a new video of new updates of The Walking Dead. Of Telltale Games, maybe someday. But season 9 and Fear Walking Dead sometimes. There's gonna be a lot of new updates, major updates. And I just can't wait until I get these videos. I'm glad I'm showing you all these videos right now. Because if I probably have a new probably got old and let's watch her. She's one of my favorite characters.
Wow. What a fucking premiere. Okay, so like real talk for a second, guys, yeah? Let's get real. Before the premiere of any season, no matter what show you're watching, everyone goes, it's the best season yet, it's the best premiere yet. Like, they have to hype it up, okay? I get that. This premiere was honestly probably my second favourite premiere. My favourite premiere has been season 7 premiere, the Negan lineup, since it happened. Since it happened, that just kicked everything else into, like, oblivion for me. I was like, no, that is the best opening to a season ever. But this just had a different feeling. It was so... something just felt off. I mean, like, I loved it. Daryl actually speaking a lot and verbalizing his feelings and his thoughts and what he thinks and that, first of all, is like, you haven't done that in ages, Dixon. Are you feeling okay? Seeing Maggie as a leader is just... I think she is going to be one hell of a fucking leader. I know that's probably going to be controversial because you're going to have people going, oh, well, the way she dealt with Gregory, you know, I agree, I think she should have killed him. He's a cunt. End of discussion. Now, the way she killed him, I don't know. She was trying to make an example to her people of like, hey, don't try to kill me in the middle of the night and I will not hang you. That is a fair enough point to make. But the way Rick and Michonne were looking at her, they were like, oh my god, she's barbaric. Have they forgotten what they've had to do to get to this stage? Yes, everybody now has like land and people are struggling, like the saviors
I
are struggling.
agree.
Fair enough. But everyone is relatively safe now. Like, are they that safe that they've forgotten the crazy shit they've had to do? Rick bit out a guy's throat. Rick cannot look at Maggie and go, That being said, I don't really know how to feel about what Maggie said to him about, oh, you know, pretty much, it's time to follow me now. That's just kind of like, bitch, what? No, I just still have that very, childish way of looking at things that I'm like, no, Rick's the leader and that's it. Rick is the leader. There can be other leaders, but Rick is the ultimate one. Rick is the boss. He's the final boss. So, I don't know. Carol and Ezekiel was something that I loved. Their scenes together. We got a proposal, which I was like, okay, look, I don't want to be pushy, but say yes. Got their little interactions with the kisses. They are kissing each other every 5 minutes. And I'm like, more. Give me more. Fucking love that. I think they are gorgeous together. The only thing that I'm a little bit worried about was her conversation with Daryl. That kind of had me like, ooh. Hang on, I'm just going to move this laptop out of the way because it is coming right into the microphone. Her little conversation with Daryl. I feel like her and Daryl, and I said it during the reaction, her and Daryl's relationship has always been a bit different. It's been a bit strange. They understand each other in ways that not a lot of other people do. They both come from similar backgrounds, they have similar life stories, and they're similar people. They're both very deep people. They're both very, like, guarded. But they have a fountain of love inside them for people that they care for. Seeing them get to talk to each other and getting to see Daryl verbalise his feelings there, and seeing Carol tell him about the engagement, or like, oh, Ezekiel tried to engage.
No, it's fucking.
What's up, guys? Adam Havoc here, and I'm super excited to be bringing you a brand new video. The new trailer for Halloween recently premiered, and while many people are excited to see Michael Myers and Laurie Strode fighting mano a mano again, there are others out there who are a little bit confused by the continuity and where this movie takes place. Didn't Laurie Strode die in the last movie? I thought Michael Myers burned in a fire. So today, I'm going to quickly, as quick as possible, explain the continuity of the Halloween series and where this brand new film fits in. To start this off, we have to go all the way back to 1963, the night 6-year-old Michael Myers murdered his sister, Judith. After the murder, Michael Myers is sent to Smith's Grove Sanitarium under the supervision of his psychiatrist, Dr. Sam Loomis. Fast forward to 1978, at the age of 21, Michael escapes and returns to Haddonfield to rain terror upon his little Illinois town. He preys on 17-year-old Laurie Strode and her friends over the course of one night, you guessed it, Halloween. At the end of the film, when Laurie comes face to face with Michael, Dr. Loomis seemingly saves the day by shooting him off the balcony of a house. But when he looks over the balcony wall, Michael's gone. Roll credits! Then, in 1981, we get Halloween 2. The sequel picks up right where the first film ends and concludes on the same Halloween night. This film is somewhat of a carbon copy of the first, but this time it's set in a hospital where Michael is a bit slower, a bit more brutal in his kills, and Jamie Lee Curtis wears a terrible wig. Also, we find out that Michael and Laurie are brother and sister, but more on that later. Anyways, the film concludes with a giant explosion that seemingly kills Michael and Dr. Loomis, but Laurie survives, and yay, happy ending. The end, right? No, wrong. 1982 saw the release of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. This film literally has nothing to do with Michael Myers. The original Halloween film is briefly referenced on the television screen, though. This movie basically exists in its own universe and continuity. Carpenter didn't want to tell another story about the boogeyman, so he thought it'd be a good idea to turn the series into an anthology that could introduce new characters and new stories with every new film.
You can now support this channel on Patreon.
There's a slice left if you want it. Sausage or pepperoni. Hold on.
Older sibling is a bitch and or bastard cliche.
Well, I thought today was Walking Dead related, not... Fuck, I don't remember anymore. But if it is, well...
Warning, this video is for comedy purposes only, and as such, should not be taken too seriously. This lorry has flipped over, but there's no clear reason as to how it flipped onto its side. There's no debris around or a car is smashed into, so that's odd. I don't really understand why there's so many cars all together in one area in the middle of a field near a road. It's like the end of the world happened, everyone jumped into their cars and then decided to chill and then just disappeared. Zombie child is able to walk around in slippers without them falling off. Zombie child also picks up a toy, which never happens later on in the slightest.
Little girl? I'm a policeman. Little girl.
Little girl doesn't immediately react to sound like they do literally every time later on.
What's the difference between men and women? That's a joke. No, serious. Never met a woman who knew how to turn off a light.
This seems oddly sexist and must be largely untrue. En route to the call, Shane puts on his special shooting hat, but upon arriving at the scene and setting up, he immediately removes it, thus making putting it on in the first place largely redundant. Stormtrooper aiming.
Shane, you do not tell Laurie that happened. Ever.
All of these trained police officers are facing in the direction of the car, and yet failed to see the guy clearly getting out of it, and also failed to stop him from shooting Rick.
You hear me? Shh, shh, okay. I'm right here with you. Stay with me. You hear me? Shh, that's it. You hear me? Shh, shh, okay.
Consistent shushing, even though Rick isn't talking, or even appears to be trying to talk.
Everybody pitched in on these. They want me to bring them down. They send their love, and they hope you come back real soon.
Then they are cheap bastards. How much could a bunch of flowers end up costing when you split it between like 10 or more people? Like fucking 9 cents or something?
I'm just gonna set these on your side table, okay?
By the way, I'm also fucking your wife. See ya! The clock on the wall shows the time as being roughly 18 minutes past 2 and has stopped. Now this would be fairly usual as we don't know how long he's been out of it, and so the battery could have gone flat. However, the clock in his room has also stopped at the exact same time. Ah well, look on the bright side. At least he got out of paying for his medical bill. I'd have at least liked one quick scene of him trying to get into the vehicles back at the hospital before walking down the street. I mean, if the military did leave in some kind of an emergency, then you'd assume there's a good chance that a key or two might have been dropped. Sleeping zombie?
Lori.
Shane complains about having never met a woman who can turn off a light switch, and here's Rick living with a woman who leaves her fucking house unlocked and open. Even Rick doesn't shut the door. No swelling or bruising of any kind after having been hit in the face with a fucking shovel.
What else? Anything? Gunshot ain't enough. Look, I ask, and you answer.
He did.
We're okay. No,
Extremely noisy car alarm doesn't trigger all of the zombies to walk towards the sound.
Grind to the pillow. You remember?
Father has enough of crying son and tries to suffocate him.
We're sure they're dead. They have to ask this one more time. They dead.
Told his son off for not speaking absolutely correct English, and then himself says they dead instead of they are dead. Even after the zombie apocalypse, the police still have donuts.
Oh my lord. That feels good, right?
Knows that noise draws walkers, and then has a shower and makes as much sound as possible.
Leon Bassett.
No.
Police officer out here. Can I borrow some gas?
Do you plan on returning it? Zombies that can run. Zombies that can climb.
You too. Don't wander too far. Stay within shouting distance. And if you see anything, holler. I'll come running.
Yes, Mom.
Yeah, so irritating talking about saving my life and protecting me.
I'll be right back.
That is definitely not within shouting distance. Leaving camp without literally any kind of weapon, other than the red bucket, of course. Creepy Shane. 1 minute and 20 seconds of awkward and weird making out and sex.
Where are you? Outside?
No, Rick, he's inside the tank. The worst possible way to get someone's attention.
He's up. You're kidding me, right? We're dead because of this stupid asshole.
Andrea. These guys take off the smartest pieces of clothing anyone has worn since this episode in the entire series, and seemingly for no reason whatsoever other than because plot.
You know the kid is surviving? Sneaking in and out, tiptoeing, not shooting up the streets like it's the OK Corral. Every peek for miles around heard you popping off rounds.
Which is something Glenn actually told him to do. Zombies using weapons.
Doing it there anyway.
Trying to flag the helicopter. Helicopter? Man, that's crap, man. Look at the helicopter.
You were chasing.
They never heard a very loud helicopter flying over.
hallucination, imagining things. It happens. I saw it.
Assuming he hallucinated having seen a fucking helicopter and seemingly for no reason.
We ain't even got, man. You bring a walk down here on our ass, man. Just chill.
Hey, bad enough I got this taco bender on my ass all day. Now I'm gonna take orders from you?
Incredibly racist white guy managed to actually find a multi-ethnic group to take his ass in.
That right, sugar tits. Hey, honey buns, let's say you get me out of these cuffs. We go off somewhere, bump some uglies.
Actual footage from 2016's Black Friday sales.
Don't mean we can't work together, parlay, as long as there's some kind of mutual gain involved.
And what exactly would be his end of the bargain and his mutual gain?
There's a cop staring at me. Would it be considered looting?
No.
I'm sorry.
Their clothing goes from being absolutely covered in guts to being barely smeared at all. Loudly slams the door behind them unnecessarily.
It's gonna work. Can't believe it. Don't draw attention.
What, like by talking, for example? Has to look at his hand to understand the fact that it's raining. Screams to run rather than just saying it normally, since Glenn is literally 2 feet away and thus by doing so draws the attention of the whole lot of them. Zombie marathon. Zombies climbing fucking fences.
That's you! You did that on purpose! I didn't mean to! I did it on purpose!
Saying he did it on purpose when he quite clearly tripped in front of him, having come back to help. Drawing a massive horde of zombies like this is clever. However, doing it with your windows rolled down is not clever. No one says thank you.
I dropped the damn key.
T-Dog's face is now completely healed within the last couple of hours after having been punched in the face several times by an angry Mel.
Nobody's gonna be sad he didn't come back. Except maybe Daryl. Daryl?
Saying except maybe Daryl when Rick doesn't know who that is, instead of just saying except maybe his brother. Knowing that sound draws walkers and then driving the car all the way back to the camp.
Turn that damn thing off!
He acts like a moron here.
Yeah, she's okay! She's okay! Yes!
Why isn't she with you? Where is she? She's okay?
Yes! Yeah. Fine, everybody.
He answers in such a retarded way instead of simply saying, they're all in the truck, they're all okay, and they're all going to be here in a minute.
Hey, helicopter boy! Come say hello!
Being given the nickname Helicopter Boy because he said he saw a helicopter in the city. Now Shane's thinking, I can't bang his wife anymore. Does that bitch literally go to stop her son from running to his father?
Yeah, apparently.
I can't tell you how grateful I
Yeah,
am to you, Shane.
yeah, I was fucking confused too. I was like,
Can't begin to
do you not
express.
see Rick?
That's
right there?
alright. He's been
Fucking hell,
collecting
I
on
did
that
not
debt in
know.
the form of regular pussy.
My point. Dixon's alive. And he's still up there, handcuffed on that roof. That's on us.
He just got through talking about how it was all his fault and how he'd take responsibility, and then ends it by saying that because he's still on the roof, it's on all of them. It's very contradictory, and it doesn't make a lot of sense.
I knew I would.
You're getting cocky now. A little bit.
What a fucking dumbass reply.
He won't wake up.
Having sex whilst your kid is literally 5 feet away is messed up. Local hungry businessman is beaten up for his lunch. Despite knowing that to kill one you have to cut its head off or cause severe brain injury, you've got some of these guys hitting its legs and seemingly stabbing it in the butt with a pitchfork.
Look at it all gnawed on by this filthy, disease-bearing, motherless, toxic bastard. Calm down, son. That's not helping. What do you know about it, old man? You take that stupid hat and go back to On Golden Pond.
Oh, I forgot he used to be a cunt.
Hey,
Squirrel attack.
just tell me where he is, so I can go get him.
He'll show you. Isn't that right?
Not only is this her changing her mind incredibly quickly, but also doing so without discussing it with Rick first, as he may have had a change of heart now that he met Daryl. But it also feels more like, hey Rick, fuck off so I can keep shagging Shane.
I'm going back.
She brought it up, and now she's looking like she's pissed off.
Yes. I'm not sitting here with anybody. Not you, Shane, Lord, least of all. Tell her that.
He doesn't need to, as it was literally her idea that she mentioned probably 5 minutes ago.
You went through hell to find us. You just got here and you're gonna turn around and leave?
It was your fucking idea!
To hell with the guns. Shane is right. Merle Dixon? He's not worth one of your lives, even with guns thrown in.
So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that she was just being stupidly full of attitude earlier when she said Rick would show him the way. Which is so retarded given that she did it in front of everyone and only after he said he was asking and not telling her. And she gave her opinion, which was to not go. Which he didn't argue with, and so assumingly was thus settled. Adding 5 cents for how stupid this is.
I tell you what, we get back, you can strip that van down to the bare metal.
Come on, let's doing this when you know that walkers are drawn to sound. Even if you're being impatient, it's still common sense. The fact that after only just reuniting, Rick and his wife don't even say goodbye to each other.
I tell you what! Come here!
This is literally the best thing that Shane ever does in the entire series, and I loved him for it. Kicking the shit out of this absolute piece of human garbage was nothing short of brilliant. For this, I'll remove a sin. Annoyingly, these women then ruin it by treating him like he's some kind of monster, despite the fact that he viciously attacked his wife, and not for the first time, and he was a lazy piece of crap who definitely would have ended up hurting one of the other women at some point. I'd have given him a high five. That is nowhere near enough blood, considering he cut through arteries and veins and bones, and there's just a tiny bit of blood on the top of the saw, not even on the blade really, and some on the cuff itself.
What? Nothing.
Something. 3 minutes of talking about fishing. Magically, blood has now appeared around the hand and saw. Daryl Merle decides that no meat should ever be wasted, as was taught to him as a child, and neatly packs away his lunch. I don't think it really requires most of the camp to make their way out there to speak to one guy who happens to be fraggling.
Jim, they're not going to say it, so I will. You're scaring people. You're scaring my son and Carol's daughter.
I got nothing to be scared of.
So if they are so scared, then why bring them all the way out there to watch them talk to him?
If I don't, then what? Then you're gonna beat my face in like Ed Pelletier, aren't you? Y'all seen his face, huh? What's left of it?
Yeah, the poor guy was only beating the shit out of his wife. It's not exactly a reason to hurt the guy, was it? Fucking retard.
Weren't there. Ed was out of control. He was hurting his wife.
That is their marriage, that is not his.
This is just stupid logic, and no one bothers to point this out to him. It's like saying it's just the homeowner's problem when someone decides to break in and attack them.
That's true.
You keep your boy close. You don't ever let him out of your sight.
Why bother going over and crouching in front of him to just not say a word and then get up and walk away? Rick lives by the motto, what happens in Atlanta stays in Atlanta.
What the hell is this? Asthma attack. Couldn't get his breath all of a sudden.
Yeah, something tells me he's not fucking referencing to that, Glenn. The best defense is absolutely no fucking defense whatsoever. This is getting sent because human reactions are not to just get touched and slowly ponder the situation, but instead to recoil quickly and freak out a little. This girl's reaction is no reaction, and that is sinful. It takes 7 fucking seconds for them to actually begin to react to the situation. I know some people will say, perhaps it's shock, but it's more down to natural human reactions instead. Stupidly gets bitten and then decides to walk just 3 feet away and fall to her knees to then get bitten again. One more time, I'll state that normal human reactions would be that you are injured and in pain, so you bloody run away from the situation. Removing a sin here for this piece of outstanding acting, which really hits the nail on the head for exactly how I think most people would be when they've just lost a loved one suddenly in front of them.
Clean and brave from here. Hell, I can hit a turkey between the eyes from this distance.
No. God's sakes, let her be.
This is a dumb statement, considering she's had all night long to deal with her situation and her sister's death, and as a result, she's now putting everyone else at risk.
Amy,
No.
we want to be with our people.
Well, that's kind of racist. Man gives birth en route to the CDC.
Jenner here. It's day 194 since wildfire was declared.
Why is a top-level government camera inside a top-notch government facility such a shitty quality?
Come on, everybody back to the doors. Let's go move. It moved. You imagined it.
Why would you assume that he imagined it? This is like the helicopter in the city situation from before.
Hello? Anybody infected? One of our group was. He didn't make it.
Then it really doesn't need to be mentioned, does it? That answering the twitchy trigger finger could have ended up getting you killed.
Are we underground?
Well, you were on ground level, and then you just took an elevator down, so logic would dictate yes.
Me, we haven't thanked our host properly. He is more than just our host.
Puts his hand out to appear modest, but then decides, to hell with that, and puts his hand down in the next frame.
He opted out. There was a rash of suicides.
I know it fits the narrative of the story, however I don't think it's likely that within mere weeks of the military up and leaving that the scientists would straight up give up on finding a cure, aka doing their job to cure the worst disease in history, and then give up on living altogether, considering they had food, water, electricity, hot showers, beds, and stations to continue working at.
There's a rec room down the hall that you kids might enjoy. Just don't plug in the video games, okay? Or anything that draws power.
But he really needed to have the big lights on in the main room as well as the computers, even though he wasn't going to use any of it, and thus sucked even more power from the generators. But yeah, don't turn on the PS3. Go easy on the hot water, he said, but then the lot of them just stand in it, enjoying it, instead of, I don't know, fucking shampooing or something. Stressed out cop gets drunk cliché. Yep, really making good use of that limited hot water supply, aren't you?
How's the blood?
No surprises.
Whilst the kids are bored in the rec room, this guy's got every single fucking light imaginable on. The corridor behind them looks like the sun is at the other end.
You alright?
You don't know what it's like.
Getting drunk whilst you're not only responsible for your family, but also for the group. I know he's safe for the first time in ages, but in their situation, you never know when something bad might happen.
There may be some people like me.
There's nothing left anywhere. Nothing. That's what you're really saying, right?
No, he's saying he doesn't know.
The air conditioning stopped.
Why the hell would you leave the air conditioning system on when you are already underground as it is? Seems like these guys didn't have a clue about making all of the generators last, and you can't tell me that no one could program the computer system to turn that pointless stuff off around the start of it all happening. Not only is this a waste of bullets, but in his anger he might go and destroy the one computer that could actually let them out. Hitting two separate panes of glass instead of concentrating on weakening the same one. What the fuck is he doing? Everyone knows they've got 5 seconds to let go and run.
We'll be right back with more The Walking Dead. But I want it
now! Warning, this video is for comedy purposes only, and as such, should not be taken too seriously. You can now support this channel on Patreon.
What? Was the joke that bad? I'm gonna kill you.
Is an incredibly dumb thing to say given your current situation. Negan blowing a quiet and perhaps intended to be intimidating kiss. 25 seconds of staring.
Grab the damn axe. Don't make me get up again.
He says, "Don't make me get up again," yet he was the one that literally told Rick to get up and grab the axe, causing him to get up in the first place. Make up your damn mind. Driving through smoke so thick you literally can't see anything. Also then to make matters slightly worse, taking your eyes off of the road entirely and yet somehow not hitting a fucking tree. 2 very long, very boring minutes of eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Killing one of the best characters in the show. Take 5 cents for that.
Oh my goodness!
Lean gun.
Not until you try a little.
kind of a lock, as this dude in the coat actually even got Daryl in. It very much looks like he's basically holding him down slightly by his shoulder. Killing another of the best characters in the show and taking another 5 cents for it.
This must be hard for you, right? I mean, you have been king for so long.
Well, you don't actually know how long he was in charge for. Could have been just a month or so.
Denied.
Ah yes, the character's kind of low on blood and thus anything goes cliche. In this clip we see Carol see over and over again regular people being nice and friendly and then zombies. Perfect thing to have outside of a makeshift hospital room.
What is this place?
A bakery?
Ezekiel has a tiger.
Also known as a CGI girl.
You have been addressed by the king.
Definitely a normal reaction here when a fully grown tiger on a small chain link lead is pacing around within easy face-eating distance.
Fair point.
Drink from the well, replenish the well.
Of course. All about the well.
Well said.
This place is a damn circus.
Well, that room could be considered a circus, but the whole place, not really, considering what we've seen as vegetables and animals and kids getting taught stuff. That's like regular town shit.
All of it. These people, it's just make-believe. It's playtime.
Once again, yes for the king, etc., but how are the normal people...
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Verbal Ace, beatboxer from outer space. I just want to say thank you so much for supporting my channel. Before we begin with this episode, make sure you click that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you'll be the first to know when I post some brand new videos. Thanks again, and please enjoy this new episode of Cartoon Beatbox Battles. Ready? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another exciting round of the Cartoon Beatbox Battles. Last time on Cartoon Beatbox Battles, things got a little messy with Patrick and Goofy. Goofy's performance was a little clumsy, but he was still able to showcase some impressive dance moves, all while dissing his opponent at the same time. But Patrick, almost forgetting his routine, has displayed some very unique beatboxing skills, throwing up at the end of his performance. You guys voted, and Patrick will be going on to the next round.
Does this mean I get to order now?
This is not a restaurant, Patrick. I don't have any food.
But I do. Here you go, Patrick.
Thanks, SpongeBob.
All right, both of you guys, go sit over there.
Ooh, comfy.
Hi, how you doing? I am Groot.
Today's battle is between another two characters that have a lot of similarities. They are both vigilantes, assassins, and they're both wanted. But I'm not going to tell anyone. Okay. In this corner, weighing 210 pounds and a height of 6 foot 2 inches, he loves chimichangas and has a superhuman healing factor, which means you can cut off his butt and he'll just grow a new one. Today we have Deadpool.
I'm famous. Hey, hello. I'm sorry, can you give me 1 second?
Okay.
Hey, SpongeBob. It's SpongeBob. Whatever. You think you can hook me up with a chimichanga? I'm a little hungry. Oh, come on, I've seen your show and everything. I'm ready. I say the same thing when I'm about to get busy. You know what I mean?
Deadpool.
All right. Don't forget about that chimichanga. Hey, Patrick?
Yeah?
Patrick, what's a chimichanga?
Sounds like some kind of chimney.
In this corner, weighing 202 pounds and a height of 6 foot 1 inches, with a closet full of high-tech weapons and being a master marksman, it's no wonder why he was given his new nickname. Today we have Deadshot. What's up?
I hope you guys liked the video. Really? Hope you guys do.